Hey everyone, today I'm going to review this 11-inch Xiaomi Pad 5 tablet from the perspective of an artist. I've had so many requests to review this over the past few weeks, and the reason why my review is late is because I was waiting for the global room to be available. The global room is where the OS is in English. So if you want to buy this tablet, make sure you get the global room. There is actually a Pro version of this tablet, the Xiaomi Pad 5 Pro, so let's take a look at the differences in terms of specifications. Both tablets are quite similar. The main difference would be in the processor. The Pad 5 uses Snapdragon 860, while the Pad 5 Pro uses Snapdragon 870 5G, which is around 20% faster according to benchmarks. This is the cellular model, whereas the Pad 5 is only available in Wi-Fi. The RAM is 6 gigs on the Pad 5, whereas on the Pad 5 Pro you can choose 6 to 8 gigs. The other main difference is the camera. On the Pad 5 you get a 13 megapixel main camera. On the Pad 5 Pro it's a 50 megapixel main camera. The battery capacity, there are differences, but it's very minimal. And of course the pricing. At the time of this video, the price of the Pad 5 is around US $400. But here in Singapore, for some reason, all the shops are selling it at $300 US, which is the price that I bought this tablet at. The Xiaomi Pad 5 Pro is US $450. The main reason why I went with the Pad 5 is because it's noticeably more affordable. The thing with Android tablets is the pricing can drop quite quickly, so if you have the time to wait, you can wait until the November or December shopping period to see if you can find a good deal for this. Because at the $300 and $400 pricing range, this is a terrific value for money. No other tablets come close to the Xiaomi Pad 5 at this price point in 2021. The tablet I'm reviewing has 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. There is no micro SD card slot for storage expansion, but 128 gigs is more than sufficient for me. These are the items included in the box. This is a 20-watt fast charger, USB Type-A here, and this is a USB Type-A to USB Type-C cable. The Xiaomi Smart Pen is not included, and this is sold separately for US $65. If you want to buy this, you can find it on AliExpress. This video is not sponsored by them, by the way. Let's talk about the design. This design looks very similar to the Apple iPad Pro with the thin uniform bezels at the sides. When I took this tablet out of the box, I thought to myself, wow, this is Xiaomi's iPad Pro. The corners are rounded off very nicely, including the LCD. This tablet is 6.9 millimeters in thickness. The main difference between this design versus the iPad Pro is the glass of the Xiaomi Pad 5 raises above the metal frame, whereas on the iPad Pro, the glass is actually flush to the top of the metal frame. On the side here, there's also this magnetic strip that you can use to attach the pen. And since the pen is always attached by the side, you don't have to worry about battery life. The battery life is rated to be 8 hours. The magnets are not as strong compared to the Apple Pencil though. At the top we have the speaker grills, and this is the power button, and the volume button is here. And at the bottom we have speaker grills as well. You get 4-way speakers on this tablet, and the audio quality is fantastic. There's the USB-C port. On the back, you get a 13 megapixel camera. This tablet comes in 2 colors, gray and white. So the design looks very similar to an iPad Pro. I see this design as a huge win for consumers because now you can get a stylish looking tablet at a way more affordable price point compared to what Apple is offering. The iPad Air, by the way, is priced at US $599, and it doesn't even come with 120 Hz. And the 120 Hz on this tablet, it's really smooth. So when it comes to scrolling, zooming in and out, all the animation is very fluid. This is an 11-inch LCD. The resolution is 2560 by 1600. Aspect ratio is 16 by 10. The PPI, the pixel density, is quite high, which is to say that all the visuals are very sharp with no noticeable pixelation, and all the text very sharp as well. Colors on this LCD look fantastic. It's not OLED, but it's not an issue. When you view the display from an angle, you can see slight drop in brightness, but it's not an issue as well because most of the time we are just looking at the screen directly. This is how the reflections look. And overall, this is just a really good looking display. It's vibrant and it has good brightness as well. The display is laminated, so there is minimal gap between the pen tip and the line on the LCD. When drawing, it's going to look like the line is appearing directly beneath the pen. Build quality for this tablet is extremely solid. This tablet looks and feels premium. The weight is 511 grams. If I hold a tablet like this in landscape orientation with just one hand for long periods of time, my hand will feel a bit tired after a few minutes. So usually I would just hold it with two hands, or if I am outdoors sketching on location, I usually hold it like this. It's definitely more comfortable to hold this tablet in portrait orientation. And as you can see, the orientation of the display changes quite quickly, which is nice. Performance with Snapdragon 860 and 6 gigs of RAM provides a good user experience. So far, I've been using this tablet for a few days and I did not notice any lag, even when multiple apps are open, and I can switch between the apps very easily, very quickly, and apps can launch really quickly. And of course, as mentioned earlier, the scrolling animation, the zooming in and out, it's really smooth. So my user experience with this app is definitely more than satisfactory. Snapdragon 860 is quite capable when it comes to gaming as well, so I don't really see any reason to go with Pad 5 Pro unless you want the LTE connectivity or you want 8 gigs of RAM. And speaking of RAM, I noticed that the apps, they sometimes refresh more often than I would prefer. So for example, let me switch to concepts in the middle of the game. You can see this app would refresh. Let's switch to the browser again, and this app would refresh as well. Is this an issue? Not really, because the apps, they load very quickly, and web pages, they can reload very quickly as well. If I go back to gaming, the game crashes, or sometimes the game will just reload, and in this case, for this game, it's quite heavy, so it's going to take a few seconds to reload the game. So that's the only issue with performance that I discovered. This tablet is an incredible multimedia device. You can play YouTube videos at 1440p resolution, and the audio quality from the four-way speakers is terrific. So when playing videos, you get very minimal black bars due to the aspect ratio, which is 16 by 10. So watching videos on this is really enjoyable. Let's take a look at the Xiaomi Smart Pen. So the design of this pen is almost cylindrical, except there is this flat side here that you can attach to the side of the tablet. There are two side buttons here which have been pre-programmed with shortcuts to take screenshots or to take notes, and the placement of the buttons is actually further up here, which is really nice because when I'm using the Samsung S Pen, I have this tendency to click on the button accidentally. I don't get that issue here with the Xiaomi Smart Pen. This pen is battery powered, and it needs battery to draw. The battery is not just for the Bluetooth features. So this is not like the S Pen where you can draw even without battery. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is actually this matte surface coating at the top of the pen tip. And this pen tip has minimal or no movement, so it's a firm pen tip. This pen supports tilt and up to 4000 levels of pressure sensitivity. There is only one extra pen tip included in the box, and unfortunately at the time of making this video, replacement pen tips are difficult to find, so it's probably going to take a few months before these are available for sale online. The pen tip glides very smoothly on the tablet. Actually, it's more slippery than what I would prefer. So I don't expect this pen tip to wear down that fast. Initial activation force is low, but you still have to apply slight pressure to get a line. This is how thick the line really is. Let's see how the lines taper. The lines don't taper as smoothly as I expect, so you can see the taper is actually quite abrupt. You don't see that sharp point at the end. This is Clip Studio Paint, where the lines can taper a bit better. So here you can see the sharp point, but even so, the tapering is not as smooth compared to what I prefer. So you can see this abrupt tapering effect here. This performance is very similar to the Samsung S Pen. The Apple Pencil will perform much better. The lines with Apple Pencil will taper more smoothly. Next, let's test for diagonal line jitter. So I'm going to draw these diagonal lines as slowly and as straight as I possibly can without shaking my hand too much. And from what I can see, there is minimal diagonal line jitter. So this is pretty good performance. This speed is much slower compared to my usual drawing speed. So this is good performance. Next, let's test the line transition from thin to thick. So here I can actually see some diagonal line jitter. Let's try again. The transition from thin to thick is quite smooth, but when I'm drawing diagonal lines, you can see some jitter, some wobble. Next, let's test for pressure consistency. What I want to do here is to maintain consistent pressure to draw lines with uniform thickness. So let me press down a bit harder. And let me draw with very minimal pressure. So line consistency seems alright to me. At least the thickness of the line, it doesn't change that randomly. So this is good performance. You can draw dots easily by just tapping on the display. Let's test for latency. So I can clearly see the line trying to catch up with the pen tip. There is a gap between the line and the pen tip. That was Clip Studio Paint earlier, and this is Medibank Paint Pro, and there is latency as well. The animation of the line as it appears on the display, that animation is very smooth, just that when you are drawing like really quickly, when you're drawing long sweeping lines like this, you can see the latency. Is this an issue? Not really, because I don't draw sweeping lines like this when I'm actually drawing. Let me try and finish up this sketch that I was drawing yesterday while I talk more about the drawing experience. This app is Concepts. It's a vector illustration app, so I can zoom in and out without losing the sharpness. And as I zoom in and out, you may notice some jitter. This is not because of the tablet, it's due to the app. It also behaves like this on the iPad Pro and also on the Samsung tablet. The panning animation looks fine to me. The pen glides on the glass surface a bit too easily for my liking. With the Apple Pencil or the Samsung S Pen, you get a bit more resistance. but here it's more, it's quite slippery. So because the surface is so slippery, it's not easy to draw straight lines. When you're drawing, sometimes the pen would just slide off into a different direction. Anyway, I'm going to show you other drawing apps later, and you can see whether or not I have any line wobble issues with the other apps. So when I'm drawing this, when I'm drawing line art, I don't really see any issues with latency, because as mentioned earlier, I don't draw long sweeping lines when I'm drawing. Pressure sensitivity works well enough. This app actually doesn't have good pressure sensitivity support. Apps like Medibank Paint Pro and Clip Studio, they will perform much better. But I like to use this app because I like to create very stylized art like this. And my drawing experience here with this app, it's very positive. I like using this app. So it's going to take some time to get used to how slippery the pen is on this tablet. And that also means when it comes to drawing subject matter that requires precision, for example, architecture drawing, it may be a bit more challenging to draw straight lines with this pen. Quick sketching works fine, no problems with quick sketching. Okay, I'm really enjoying this, the drawing process. Depending on the app you use, you may get perfect palm rejection. So for example, with concepts, I can use my finger to move the canvas. I'm trying to draw with my finger, but I cannot draw anything because I've set in the settings for my finger to pan the canvas. So I can actually rest my palm here and draw, and I will not introduce any straight strokes. Some apps will allow you to take only pen input for drawing. So even if you want to draw with your finger, you cannot, but finger gestures are still supported. So I'm going to leave this building in just line art. Let's draw some clouds. This brush is the sponge brush. It's a textured brush, but it's also a vector brush, which is the amazing thing about this app. Let me put some white back into the sky. Okay, so this is how my sketch looks. This app is Huion Sketch, and this app is quite nice as well. So this is pressure sensitivity with the pencil brush, and you can tilt the Xiaomi Smart Pen on the side to get even thicker strokes. So you can get really nice line variation with this. And when it comes to sketching, definitely no issues at all. And I can sketch really quick. The drawing performance, it's really nice. You know what, let me try and draw some really straight lines to show you whether or not I can draw straight lines. So earlier with concepts, I was not able to draw straight lines that easily. So with this app, with Huion Sketch, I can draw straight lines more easily. But for horizontal lines, it's a bit difficult. Anyway, it's due to my technique. So I have to actually move my hand into this position to draw the straight lines. See? It comes down to how you position your hand. It's just that when I'm drawing straight lines by dragging the pen across like this, the screen is so slippery that the pen can glide away from the line. So the lines that I can get with Huion Sketch is straighter. Huion Sketch is a really nice app to draw with. It's very responsive. And I really love the pencil brush. And this 11-inch display is a really nice size to work with. It's about the size of an A5 size sketchbook. So you can rest your palm on the display and still get a good amount of canvas space to work with. This is Medibank Paint Pro. This app usually has a lot of latency, which is to say that the latency performance is not great. But I mean, I'm using it to draw now and it works fine to me. I'm able to get the lines to come out exactly the way I expect them to, and I'm able to draw straight lines quite easily as well. It's easier to draw straight lines with this app and also with Huion Sketch and with Clip Studio. But still, the smoothness of the display, it affects accuracy. So let me just try and rotate the canvas more. You can definitely use this tablet to create professional art, because I mean Clip Studio is as professional as an app can be, so I don't think you will be limited by the capabilities of Clip Studio Paint. But I'm not using Clip Studio Paint here because I don't have the license to run Clip Studio Paint on so many tablets. And Clip Studio Paint on the tablet requires a subscription base plan. It's not a one-time purchase like what you get on a desktop, which is why I'm using Medibank Paint. And Medibank Paint has recently went with the subscription model as well, but the main app is still free to use, just that they lock away some features behind a paywall. The drawing performance is actually quite good. Not as good definitely compared to the iPad Pro, but good enough for a tablet at this price point. Actually more than good enough for a tablet at this price point. Let me switch over to coloring this other sketch that I drew yesterday as well. I cannot tell you how many layers you can create because it really depends on the resolution of the file. Let's see how many layers I have. I only have 3 layers here. Let me just try and create as many layers as possible to see if there is a limit with Medibank Paint. I can create almost 20 overlays, but I'm going to stop here because I don't know what's the limit. It doesn't make sense for me to keep on creating so many layers. Usually for me, I don't use more than 10 to 20 layers for my art. There is Google Play Store, and with Google Play Store you can find many drawing apps, and there are many good drawing apps available on Android. My main drawing apps on Android are Concepts and Medibank Paint. There are many who use Clip Studio, Sketchbook, Infinite Painter, and even Krita. These are some artworks that I have drawn with Concepts on various Android tablets over the years. I've just imported them onto the Xiaomi tablet. This is my daughter that I drew a few years ago. I really like the pencil effect with Concepts as well. I like the texture. And this is my daughter a few days ago playing with her doctor playset. Battery life is really good. You can get around 10 to 12 hours with normal use with auto brightness. If you take a look here, you can see the battery percentage drop maybe 25%, and I've used the tablets for 4 hours. Alright, to conclude, let me just run through the pros and cons really quickly. This tablet looks and feels premium. It has smooth lag-free performance most of the time, and the display is really beautiful. Fantastic audio quality, comes with a pen that supports tilt and pressure sensitivity, awesome battery life, quite thin, very compact, manageable, easy to bring around. Downsides, the glass is more slippery than what I would prefer, so this affects accuracy when it comes to drawing. If you want to apply a matte screen protector on the display, it's probably going to wear down the pen tip much faster, and at the time of making this video, replacement pen tips are almost impossible to find. And when it comes to switching between apps, the apps they reload more often than what I would prefer, but it's not an issue because the apps or the web pages they reload really fast. So those would be the downsides. This tablet represents an incredible value for money. I bought this at 360 or 65 US dollars. Even if you buy this at 465 US dollars, it's just $30 or $40 more compared to the Apple iPad 9 with the Apple Pencil. But you get almost twice the specs. You get 120 Hz refresh rate compared to 60 Hz. You get 2 times the amount of storage, 128 gigs of storage versus 64. You get 6 gigs of RAM versus 3 gigs. You get 4 speakers instead of 2 speakers. This overall is just a way better deal. It's a no-brainer if you are looking for a tablet at the 300, 400 or 500 price point. So that's my review of the Xiaomi Pad 5 from the artist's perspective. I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you again.